an annual look back at the past 18 months of downtown development. Here to tell us about the State of Downtown report and give us the lowdown on downtown is Jake Gordon, CEO of Downtown Vision Incorporated. Jake, good morning. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Ann.
Are you sad this morning? Your horse and your team has lost.
I am very hoarse. I'm very sorry if my voice sounds bad.
Yeah.
We tried real hard. A phenomenal season. Great for our city. Sad it's over, but glad it happened.
All right. So downtown, you do this annual report. It is representative of DVI, and DVI, for people who may not remember, is a representative and funded by the Downtown Business District.
Mm-hmm.
So you do this annual report to kind of give us the pulse. And what is your overall assessment of the state of downtown?
Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks for the question. Downtown Jacksonville is a great place, and we have a lot of property owners. So we do this on behalf of the property owners, including the city of Jacksonville, Mayor Deegan, and the Downtown Investment Authority. And the reality is, I think people think that we've gone backwards, but every metric is up. We have one metric that's down, that's office occupancy, which is happening everywhere. But in terms of visitors, in terms of tourism, in terms of investment, everything is up, and it feels very important to keep this momentum going to make our city better.
Up, when you say up year over year, I mean, you've been there 11 years now. You've got some time in the chair. You have some wisdom. You have some ability to look back. Are we further ahead than we were 11 years ago? Or you say we're like further ahead than we were last year?
Well, we're further ahead than last year. We're unequivocally further ahead than 11 years ago. It has feeling like I moved here 11 years ago. It has been a blur. Cities are built in decades, not in years. So I think for a regular individual, they don't see the changes. But I think if you could go in a time machine and walk in downtown in 2015, you would see today so many more changes. Just the cranes in the air from the stadium itself under construction, Four Seasons. I mean, everywhere you look, there's so much more investment and activity than 10 years ago. And that's going to lead us in another 10 years looking back, which is kind of part of our research that we're trying to do. But yes, definitely moving forward.
So does the report also look at the weak spots, things that need fixing, prioritizing things that are not working?
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone can go see the report. It's at ttjax.com/reports. And really a lot of it is a presentation of data. We try to analyze some of that data, but the reality is we give you the raw data. If you go and get the report as a PDF, it's one thing, but if you go online, there's even a way to dig into it even more. So, it's like 25% of people come from 30 miles or further in downtown, and 10% of people come from 2 miles. Some of these things are kind of hard to unpack, but it really is. We've just tried to collect all the data to really make sure we have a clearinghouse of kind of how we're doing. And then any one area, you can kind of look at it and make conclusions for yourself.
When we spoke to you last, I think there had been some very kind of long-time merchant that had left downtown, Emily Moody, who had Wolf and Cub, which was kind of like a boutique store. She's relocated that store. Are there similar merchants, tenants downtown that you feel like are on the edge of pulling out? Or do you feel that the momentum is in the other direction? What are you hearing directly from your client base?
And I think, we love Emily, and Wolf and Cub was open for a long time in downtown. And we're worried about all of our retail businesses, honestly. You look at these big projects like University of Florida, the stadium, Four Seasons, those are going to be amazing. They're also going to take like years and years to build out. Like retail institutions in downtown, they're like day to day. And so any institution that you like, Florida Theater or Bellwether as a restaurant or, anything, if you like it, please go spend your money. Because people ask how to help downtown. The number one way to help downtown to get the change you seek, if you're going to go to Riverfront Plaza or a new destination waterfront parks, go to a place to eat, go to a restaurant, go to something, spend your money, because everyone has higher costs than ever before. And we do need to support the businesses that we have. Absolutely.
We talked a little before the program started about these new playgrounds that have opened. 3 new playgrounds, all kind of almost within eyesight of each other downtown, mostly situated along the riverfront. And this is a kind of a great thing, but also raises the question of how much capacity do we need? I feel like this is something that I kind of hassle the mayor about sometimes in terms of just sheer park space. It's like a great thing, and yet it has to be activated. It has to be maintained. It has to be occupied for it to be, a fun place to be or a useful space for people who live here.
I I mean, how many parks do you need? In my mind, you could have a lot. It's kind of like how much art do you need or otherwise. But the reality is those public spaces are bringing people downtown. They are free. They're an amazing amenity for our city. And then if you're going to have a destination playground, isn't downtown the place to have it? So everyone has to come downtown. And then it's the economic activity it draws, much like the Buffalo fans came downtown and stayed at the hotels. Well, these parks are drawing so many more people downtown. I know Mayor Deegan has been very focused on that. And you look at that, and that will really add economic activity, which then makes the properties more valuable, which then brings more tax rateables to the city, which then they're able to spend more on infrastructure and schools and all these other things that we need. So the value of our city, particularly of our downtown, is incredibly important to the city's business plan. And these public space, buildings are so much more valuable that are based near big waterfront destination parks. And so these skyscrapers are going to go up in value. The city's going to have more money because the owners of the skyscrapers are going to pay more back to the city. So I do think it's very, very important and very, very valuable.
So you raised the question of, how much art is enough. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about Art Walk. That's something that was in the news last year because of fees that had been expanded for people who are displaying at Art Walk. At the time, we invited you to come on the program. You declined. So I would like to ask you about that at this point. The concern I think people have is that it is becoming prohibitively expensive for some people to participate, but also whether as the conversation that we did have on air here about the fees, whether Art Walk is also just sort of changing perhaps the original mission, which was try to, activate existing gallery spaces and downtown businesses, and is becoming too festival focused, something that is applied once a month as opposed to actually helping to invigorate the people who are merchants downtown there year round.
Yeah, absolutely. And so first of all, I should have come on your show. I'm really sorry I didn't. We love Art Walk, and we love that everyone loves Art Walk. It really is. We're trying to promote the cultural community, but we are trying to help the businesses. And then we're also trying to make sure the audience that comes is really happy. So it is like a 3 different audiences that we're trying to support. And I think we do charge to be a vendor at Art Walk. And we had, the fees to charge weren't new, but we expanded the area we needed to charge because we had certain vendors like in the park paying one number and then other vendors on the periphery paying nothing. And I think at the end of the day, we're a nonprofit, just like every business. You're trying to make sure you're sustainable, but still, we're never making money on Art Walk and never have in the 25 years DVI has been around. But the reality is trying to make it work for everyone and still sustain itself. Because, for example, all the costs for Art Walk compared to 11 years ago are much, much higher, even to public safety, even to helping close the streets, all of these things. So I think that's what you're going to see. If you want to support things like Art Walk, come out. Well, the reality is it's free. So the more people that come out to Art Walk, I actually have more costs, not less. I don't make any revenue. So the idea would be that we really need to figure out how we can get more supporters of Art Walk. If you like it, we would love to talk to you, and we could curate your support to supporting the people that we want to support. And we do love how it's for everyone and everyone comes downtown.
Who are the stakeholders there? When you mentioned businesses, the people who attend.
Yeah. And then the arts community. All the vendors are actually artists. So we charge art vendors one number and other vendors more because we're trying to support the artists more. So it's actually much cheaper to be an arts vendor at Art Walk than to be a different kind of vendor, like sell food, for example.
And which of those constituencies would you say love Art Walk the way it is, and which ones are not happy with it?
I think all of them usually see it their way and want it to be even better. And at the end of the day, this is similar to Mayor Deegan and any electeds. If there was just unlimited resources, we could add them to do it, and there's just not. And I think that's where you see in downtown, that's where we got to be even more specific in 2026. I almost said 2016, to put our money. And I think the businesses want downtown to be even better and Art Walk to be even better. The arts people want it to be even better. And so does the audience. Everyone kind of wants it, thinks it's great, and wants it to be better, much like downtown itself.
We're talking to Jake Gordon from Downtown Vision Incorporated. We have a call from Kevin in Springfield. Good morning, Kevin. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, y'all. I'm sure you're sharing the same depression that we're all feeling this morning, but great year for the Jags and great year for downtown. A lot of development happening. I just want to comment on someone who's downtown on a weekly basis, driving through downtown on a daily basis until we can get this homeless population under control, until we can provide the services necessary to get it under control and thus control the litter issue, which that population very much affects. People are coming downtown. These parks are absolutely, we see it. My kids and I, we go to these new parks all the time on either side of the river. People are coming that usually don't come downtown. But once they see what their surroundings are, and that goes for new tenants, whether residential or commercial, they're going to see what surrounds them, and they're not going to want to be there anymore. So let's take advantage of that magnet that we have and sustain it with the proper city services, but we've got to do something about the homeless population. Love y'all.
Kevin, thanks so much. Jake, there was a new law that went into effect last year that, requires different procedures when it comes to whether, the city's supposed to be providing spaces as opposed to, allowing people to camp overnight. Have you seen any changes because of that law?
I find it incredibly positive where the city, and I love that caller, it's absolutely right. And this is an economic development issue, but it's also a helping people issue. And the social services have been working very closely with JSO and the administration, with Tracy and Mayor Deegan and otherwise. And I think we have made a huge amount of progress. But this is the lesson, just like our report. Even though you've made a huge amount of progress, there's still a lot of ways to go. I mean, even one person sleeping on the street is too many. The idea that we really want to promote our neighborhood, and we will see the homeless issue is an issue that makes property less valuable. So going back to the business strategy, and then the reality is, even with JSO working, getting homeless people off the street because they are the enforcement arm, the reality is the vast majority of them went into services. But there really isn't enough resources for these services, and we just need more. So if people want to support, Sulzbacher or Ability Housing or all these great nonprofits changing homelessness, that's where even the best plan to implement, there isn't enough capacity to really implement the way we want to. But I will say way less people sleeping on the street than 10 years ago, if you judge it by decades. And I think the caller is still right, though. This is an issue that still needs to be really focused on in downtown. And I could do another hour talking about it, but it is an important issue.
And one of the reasons that we're going to let you bounce early today is because you've got to go meet with city council folk to talk about a variety of issues. But one thing I just want to ask you about before we do let you go is the incentive structure. It does seem like this council is moving away from wanting to give cash incentives to bring businesses downtown, much more comfortable with other means of doing so, or perhaps just maybe wanting to do more with less. What is your feeling about the need for cash incentives to bring businesses to downtown Jacksonville?
Well, as our report shows, we are on the right track, supporting these mega projects that'll have instant impact for the rest of our lives and our kids' lives in downtown and help our city. I do think council is doing what it's supposed to do, which is spending the city's monies wisely and questioning every purchasing decision that they have. And I am going to future downtown committee. We have a brand new CEO of the DIA, Colin Tarbert, who came from Baltimore, who's really a subject matter expert on this. And you look at what Baltimore and many other cities did, you do need to incentivize development. It's a little bit like giving businesses that move here funds and incentives. You do need to do it. If no one was doing it, you wouldn't need to, but you do if they have choices on where they can develop. And then the reality is what is too much and what is not enough. And that's why every single decision and every single development project, as you can see at council, has been scrutinized. And at the end of the day, council and the mayor have both worked on moving these developments forward. And in downtown, projects can get more money than in other parts of the city. And that is the best way to do it, because then you're creating this engine of tax revenue that will come off and throw off. We mentioned Cleveland, and Cleveland uses its money from downtown to help the whole city. A better downtown helps all of Jacksonville.
Well, Jake Gordon, we will let you fly. Thanks so much for coming on this morning. We have a link to the report on our website, and we welcome you back anytime. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.